All right. What day is today? Wednesday. This is just a pop up. I normally don't do this on Wednesdays, but business doesn't sleep.
So I don't think I know how to do this. Do I close
So
this
on
box?
your Instagram, if you look at the upper right, it'll say go live on Instagram, and then you want to hit it a couple times until you see us showing up in the preview spot.
So it says go live, but it's not like I can't click it.
All right. See it? You good? You good, James? Did you hit go live on the upper?
It says go live, but I can't click it.
You can't click it? You can't. What happens when you click it?
It's not like a button that I can click. It just says it's not. You know. I need some 6-year-old to come help me.
No, it's actually pretty simple. I mean, I know you're older than me, but I was able to figure it out just fine.
I mean, do you want me to show you?
Yeah, I would like to see it. Put it in the camera. I would like to see what you can't do. Put it in the camera.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, people.
See that right there? Go live.
Yeah, click it?
It won't let me click it.
That's interesting. All right. Well, leave it up. Leave it up. I don't know. I don't know. Did you get that off Tubi? Is that one of the? Did you get that laptop off Instagram while you were scrolling and it was like, look, I got for $13. All right. We live anyway. I got to turn the background music off because of some copyright stuff. Folks, my name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor and entrepreneur out of the San Francisco Bay Area. My background is in real estate investing. I'm a long-term hold investor. I consult on multiple projects, domestic and abroad. I'm licensed in insurance, licensed real estate broker in 2 states, former mortgage broker. Spent over 2 decades on the operations side of the multifamily commercial industry. Took $585 one day, went on to create a company that generated 7 figures in the short time that I had it, utilizing the outsourcing business model. I had a national notary signing agency over 2 decades ago, and I do a lot more stuff that's way more impressive on paper than in real life. I'm also founder of 4 Data Points Academy. We're the only real estate investing training platform without an end date. We put all of our efforts and resources into turning people into real estate investors, and they don't have to keep paying, right? We make sure that they are seasoned investors and they determine how long our professional relationship is. But because we have a sense of community that we create, the hope is that everybody stays engaged even when they get seasoned, and then we can start investing together and, building stuff and doing all the fun stuff that seasoned real estate investors do. I got James with me, James Lewis. James, tell everybody who you are and your background, and let's jump into these five questions. Not 5 questions. I guess I should say 5 reasons, right?
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
2 seconds. Y'all, you gotta extend some grace when you do live streams with old people, because they gotta get real comfortable. Hold on, let me look at. Did you see where I put my Bluetooth? It's in your ear. It's in your ear. Oh, okay. All right. And James, what are you looking for, bro?
My mouse. Oh, here it is.
All right, let's pause. See this awkward silence? You guys hear this? Dr. Monique, you hear this awkward silence? That's not my fault.
I think I actually closed my Instagram.
Whenever you're ready, man. We're here.
Just get it. Pretty sure I closed it.
Bro, just tell everybody who you are, man. We don't need to. We can bypass it. We're not gonna sit here for 30 minutes while you try to figure out.
All right. So my name is James Lewis. I'm an Instagram guru.
I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute.
Have spent 30 years mastering social media. I was part of the team that invented Facebook.
Yes. Yeah. That's believable.
But no, seriously. It, beyond social media, I actually do know lots of stuff about business in general. I've managed some pretty large businesses and had people who were responsible for the social media part. I managed them.
Back when you did that, though, social media just came out. Like,
I had a whole social media team, and they told me what they were doing, and I said, that's a great idea.
that was back when your social media, you got it mailed to you in a CD, and you had to put the CD in the computer and hook it up to the phone line. That's okay. Go ahead. All right. Go ahead. Net zero.
No, look. Here's the bottom line. Managing a business is really hard. I make it simple. Okay. That's what I do for people. The analogy I give folks is these big giant businesses that I've been really fortunate to work for, maybe for. They got everything figured out. Figured out. And small business owners, even medium-sized business owners, it seems like they're always trying to figure stuff out. Entrepreneurs are always trying to figure stuff out. And billion-dollar corporations, they're not trying to figure anything out. They've got everything figured out. I am never trying to figure anything out. And so that's what I do. I help you make your business easy. I have a business platform that I created called Lewis Business Acumen. And that is just seven simple rules. So I love what we're going to talk about today. There's some reasons that businesses fail. They're common. And when you look across the whole business spectrum, it doesn't really matter what industry. It doesn't really matter if it's a service-based business, whether it's a product-based business. These reasons that businesses fail are common, and the solutions to them are also common. So that's what we're talking about today.
We got top 5. What's number 1, man? Are you going in order?
So actually, I'm not going to go into all the reasons. I'm going to break down one of the reasons.
Okay.
So one of the most common reasons is making bad decisions.
Okay, break that down.
Right. So hang on, this drive very crazy. All right. So making bad decisions. So as you can imagine, here's what I say to people. Like the whole idea of Lewis Business Acumen and his platform is it's guidance. It's about how do we do what we do? How do we make decisions? The reality is your business is going to be as successful as your decision making. That's simple as it is. Like things happen every day, and you've got to make choices. And those choices determine your business success. And so we're going to break down why those choices go wrong, so that we can know how to make them good choices. So the reasons people make bad choices. Number one, we have the wrong team. We have the wrong people in the wrong places. Okay, or maybe the right people in the wrong places. But our team isn't right. Okay, so that's number one. And this isn't necessarily in order. This is just the top 5.
Well, can we look at that one? So what if somebody can't afford? They can't afford a team.
Well, I'll dig into that one. Let me just give you 5 first, and then we'll dig into each one. All right. Number two is we don't have a plan. Okay, so we didn't come up with some sort of a plan so that we can make decisions. Okay. Number three, we're making emotional decisions instead of data-based decisions. Okay. Then one that I call alignment.
Okay.
And this is a little bit more nuanced, but I'll get into that a little bit later. And then the last one is accountability. Okay. We don't have some sort of a system or structure to create accountability.
Okay.
All right. So those are the 5. So let's talk about personnel, people, team.
Okay.
So you had a question. What was your question?
Yeah. What if so most people starting out? I know the answer to this, but I'm asking for everybody else. Most people starting out, they can't afford a team, and you and I have talked about, okay, we'll focus on a commission-based, a commission-based team, so it doesn't require upfront capital. You pay out of profits. So talk about that. What would you say to that person that can't afford a team? And well, not just can't afford a team, that doesn't even know which team, who to prioritize when putting a team together.
Yeah, that's a great question. So much I can say about this. So let's start with the basis of understanding that if you don't have the right team, you can't make good decisions. So if you're not the right person to do everything, it's impossible for you to make the right decisions for your business. So if we just understand that's an objective truth, that's a great place to be in your business. Because if you understand that, you're gonna move heaven and earth to try to figure out how to get the right people to make the right decisions, right? And I think what happens with entrepreneurs is they feel like, hey, I'm by myself in my business. I'm gonna figure everything out by myself because I'm by myself in my business. Instead of understanding first that, hey, I'm not the right person to be making some of these decisions in my business. And if I want my business to be successful, I've got to figure that piece out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you an example. I'm not a social media guy.
No,
as was clearly demonstrated, right? So if I'm by myself in my business and I need social media for my business to be successful, will my business be successful?
Nope.
Obviously not. And I think that business owners need to understand that. And many business owners don't. And that's the difference between what I call mom and pops and Fortune 500 companies. And I think what happens is and the reason I give this example is what folks don't understand is it isn't the $1 billion that came first. It's the way these companies make decisions that came first. And I think the thought process that people have is, well, these businesses can do all this sorts of stuff because they have money. The reason they can have a team and all this sort of stuff is because they have money to spend. No, the reason they have money to spend is because of the way they make decisions. You have to figure out how to make decisions the same way they do. Okay? You're trying to do social media and you don't know how, and your business is dependent on that, your business is going to fail. Period. That's just a fact. Okay? All right. So now another piece of an answer to that. We need to be more thoughtful about how we put a team together or how we get things done. Now, let me dig more into that. So when I develop leaders, something I call competencies. Right now, I have four rules. Won't get into all of them. One of them is rule number 4: develop your competencies. And as a leader, one of those competencies is analysis and decision making. Okay. So if you're a leader and you're an owner of your business, you need to develop your own analysis and decision making. That's about judgment. It's about analyzing your business and having good judgments. And so you need to have the good judgment and the good analysis skills to figure out how to put a team together, or how to get things done for other people, even though you're by yourself. Okay, that's a skill you've got to develop. And if you don't have that skill currently, you don't get to have the excuse. Now listen, you got to excuse me here because I'm a business leader, and when I talk to the business leaders, I talk directly. Okay, I don't talk to kick clubs or any of that sort of stuff. I speak directly because that's how business leaders need to be able to hear. Okay, they need to be able to hear directly. Okay. So if you don't have the skill that you say things to yourself like, hey, I don't have the money, so I can't put a team together, then quite frankly, you need to develop that skill. Okay. All right. So let me give you an example. So if I say, hey, I can't hire somebody to be a social media manager, fine. Go on Fiverr and get somebody to do it. Right? Doesn't mean you have to hire somebody full time, but you have to find the right person to do it. Okay? Here's another example. I like to give this example because I think it illustrates perfectly. I was talking to somebody. I was having a consultation with somebody, and this person had a candle making business, right? And we did some math. Okay. And he's saying, and what I said was, hey, you need a team. You were talking about this exact topic. And this person was making the candles themselves in their garage. I said, well, how much money do you make on one batch of candles? It's like $8,000. Fantastic. How long does it take you to make that batch of candles? So it takes about 20 hours. Perfect. I said, okay. What's minimum wage where you live? Okay. Now let's call it $10 an hour. All right, great. What would happen if you called a temp agency and you hired two people? Okay, you paid $10 an hour. Okay. And they work 20 hours a week. Okay. What's 20 times 10? Okay. $200. All right. And they made your candles. Okay. Now might take more than 20 hours because you got to train them. So let's call it 30 hours. Okay. $300. So you're going to pay them $300. And then they're going to make $8,000 worth of candles. Now you didn't spend that 20 hours. What are you now going to do with that 20 hours? He said, well, I'm going to go sell. Fantastic. And the other thing I can do is I can come up with more recipes and you create some more. That's fantastic. So now you have another line of candles, right? Another product line. Yeah, great. One of these things that I'm going to go a little bit of tangent. One of the things that always drives me crazy. We have these sayings that people have. People think they're true just because they're saying they're not. And one of them is, we need multiple streams of income. And multiple streams of income doesn't mean new businesses. Multiple streams of income, multiple streams in the same business, right? Like a different product, right? So it's great. So you can come up with a new product, and now you can have those same people do another line of candles in that same product. So now instead of maybe them working 20 hours, maybe they're working 40 hours. Instead of them creating $8,000 worth of candles, now they're making $16,000 worth of candles. And now you're spending time selling those candles. And you see how your business is now exponentially growing because you started creating a team.
Now that's an easy scenario to quantify because you actually have a tangible product. What about the demand has to be created first to create a bottleneck to be resolved by bringing in more people. What I see is people bringing in more people too early and the demand hasn't been created. So when somebody says, well, I can go sell more, there's still no guarantee that you're going to be able to sell anything because you haven't gauged the demand. So how do you coach people into gauging the demand so that they can find the bottleneck? Right.
Yeah. So you need to have a viable business. One of the conversations I have with people is, do you have a viable business in the first place? Now look, we're talking about different stages. People's businesses are in different stages. Okay. So some of these questions we're talking about are geared toward people in the beginning stages. Many of my clients are not in the beginning stages. But so this question I think is geared to somebody who's in the beginning stage of their business. So I'm going to answer it for both. So somebody's in the beginning stage and not in the beginning stage. So if you're in the beginning stage, you need to have a viable business. Okay. And sometimes I'm talking to people who don't even know that they have a viable business. In other words, you don't have sales currently, right? Or you don't have enough sales. And I have a saying I have is you need to have your sales drive your operation. Okay. And that's valid for both people in a new business, people in an existing business. And what that means is you don't want to be spending money on operational portions of your business without sales. Your sales should stress out your operation. Your sales should push you to need operational areas because all those things in operational areas cost money. And if you don't have sales to produce the money to pay for it, especially in beginning stages of your business, well, where's the money coming from to pay for it? And you just create stress for yourself, and you're creating financial need without money to pay for it. So again, first you gotta have a viable business in the first place, and so that's about data, right? So again, making good business decisions is what we're talking about. So did we make a data-based decision when we decided we wanted the business in the first place, or did we start this business because we had an emotional feeling, an attachment to whatever business we're trying to create? But we've got to have a viable business. Okay, now if we're in an existing business, then we've got some sales. Okay. And those, so for example, in this example, he's got sales, right? And those sales are coming in. It could be a service-based business. You've got to have some sales. And you've got to. And here's the thing about sales is you want to take data from those sales. And that's one of the things we'll get into that as we get different reasons. But you can take data, and data gives you predictability, and that's how you want to make those decisions. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, let's talk about sales for a little bit, because I had a conversation with somebody it was a service-based business. They were trying to get their business off the ground, and they actually heard a conversation that you and I had online, and so they wanted to bring in sales. They wanted to bring in salespeople, and what I told them was, how many sales could you take at one point? I'll give you the short of it. I told them in particular, they need to focus on automations, because if you have salespeople, but the bottleneck is you're only able to answer so many phones, you're only able to, reach out to so many people that were driven to your CRM with one person. So there's going to be a bottleneck, right? So when we talk about sales, are we including all of the automations to support the sales in that conversation, or are you just talking about personnel?
Well, again, it depends on what stage your business is. It depends on what money you have. So money is one of the other reasons that business fail. So we're not talking about that right now. We're just talking about bad decisions. And so there's other things in that particular question. There's some other things involved with that particular example. But here's what I would say. So let me ask some follow-up questions. What stage was that person in?
I don't know, because we didn't talk about. I didn't see how far that they had planned out. We were only talking about that topic. So
did they have any sales?
Yeah, they did have sales.
Okay. So here's what I would say. And I used to give this example to people. Okay. I used to say, listen, if I had a cash register, I don't even need a cash register. If I had a person and a product, I could sell stuff. Now it might be inefficient. I might have shrink and theft. But all I need is a person and a product. Nothing else. Okay. All this other fancy stuff that we try to put around it, it's all fluff stuff to try to make our business better. But I don't need it. And here's my point. We want the sales to push our operation. And a lot of times people want to get cute and put all this other stuff before we have sales. We got to make sure we have sales and get a piece of paper. Like we want a CRM, we want all this sort of stuff. But we can do that with a piece of paper and a pen. Like I don't know, what stage of your business and how much sales do you have?
Okay, let's assume they have none. Let's assume they have no sales yet.
Yeah. If you don't have any sales, why do you need a CRM? You ain't got no sales.
Okay.
What you need CRM for? You got a cell phone? You got a piece of paper? Get on the phone and sell some stuff. Like don't waste your time and your money doing a whole bunch of stuff that you don't have sales to support.
Okay.
That's a waste of money and time, by the way.
Okay. So let's say someone does that. They say, okay, let me just get on the phone. Let's take the candle person, for example. They get on the phone. They start reaching out. They start calling people. Let's say they posted an ad on their social media, not even a real ad, just a social media post letting people know what they do. And 200 people want candles. They don't have the systems in place to facilitate that, right? And I'm not talking about 200 people place orders and they can't meet the order because of lack of personnel. I'm talking about if 200 people express interest, they don't have a way to organize that so they can make contact with 200 people if they haven't spent any money on a CRM or some of the basic. So they're going to lose sales. And if you lose sales, now your reputation is tarnished.
Yeah. But that's a better position to be in. Right. So what happens is people spend too much money worrying about, well, what if I put myself in a bad position because I have too many people wanting to buy stuff? Well, you don't have too many people wanting to buy stuff. like that's a good problem to have, man. Like go ahead and put yourself in that position, and then you, like that's a good problem to have. Okay. You ever seen Shark Tank?
Yeah.
The people on Shark Tank have that problem. That's exactly the problem those people have. They have pushed their let their sales push their operation, and now they need money to help catch up.
No, but these aren't sales. This is just being able to facilitate the conversation. This isn't 200 people that placed orders. That's that's even worse. That's a no-brainer, right? I'm talking about
even worse.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought.
That's even worse. Like there's, I don't even understand that. Like that's not even something I understand. Like you have to have a product to sell. So I don't even understand that situation. If you have to have a product to sell. So,
no, that's what we're using the candle.
Remember what I said before. I can sell. Hold on. Remember what I said before. If I have a product and a person, I can sell stuff. If I have a service and a person who facilitates the service, I can sell stuff. That's all I need. So that situation doesn't exist. Okay. The only way that situation exists if there's no product. But if I've got 200 people who express interest, and I have product to sell them, and I have a person who can sell them that product, the only thing that needs to happen is the person needs to sell them the product. Okay. So they can sell it to them on the phone. They can sell it to them in person. I don't really care how they sell it to them. They just need to sell them the product. Now, remember my example. Maybe it's inefficient, right? Maybe they can sell it to them better. Maybe they can sell it to them faster. All that other sort of stuff. But they can still sell it. Right. That's the position that you need to be in. Put yourself in a position where you need to be able to improve stuff. But you can't be in a position where you're not doing stuff at all, and you need. Look. I run into too many entrepreneurs who aren't making enough money, and they don't have sales knocking down their door. Okay. By the way, those aren't most of my clients. Most of my clients on the other side of the spectrum. Most of my clients have successful businesses, right? And their sales are knocking down the door, and they're trying to figure out how to be more efficient. That's actually where most of my clients are. What you and I are talking about right now are people who are doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I promise you're doing it wrong. If you're in a situation where you are not letting your sales push your operation, I promise you're doing it wrong.
Okay, but we just disagree. I think you need to have the systems in place to be able to organize the information and make a data-driven decision. I'm not saying that the demand is
hang on. Listen. Because understand where. Let me explain it 2 different ways. You got to understand where I draw my expertise. Okay. I don't draw my expertise from Jimmy John, who has a $5 million business, and who most people think that's great, that's successful. I draw my expertise from Lowe's, Home Depot, CarMax that has a top 50 company, okay, that makes $80 billion a year. And I know how they make decisions. Okay. And so this is about decision making. Now, if you're going to do it right, you've put a plan together and you've got enough money, right? And you said, okay, I have enough money to plan my business out for 5 years. And I can put all the systems in place because I have the money to do that. And then I also have the money to support my business for the next 3 years and have it not be profitable for the first year because I'm going to spend all that money up front and that overhead up front, right? And put the team together. But you are not the scenario you gave me is not a person who's in that situation. Okay. The scenario you gave me is somebody who's starting out, is all by yourself, and they don't have that kind of money. So if you're in that situation, you can't make decisions like that. You don't have the money to do that.
Right.
You just don't. So if you don't have the money to do that, so first of all, again, we're talking about decision making. So if you're not in that position and you don't have the money to do that, you already made a bad decision. Okay. You made the decision to start a business without a plan and without enough money. Now that might have been a decision out of necessity, and that's okay. But let's understand that's a decision that put your business not on the best footing. Okay. If your business needs $1.5 million to be successful to start for the first 3 years, right? To have everything it needs and the right team and the right systems and all that sort of stuff like you're talking about, Otis. But you don't have $1.5 million and you still want to start your business, then you can't do what you're talking about, oh. You can't. It's impossible. So let's talk about what you need to do instead. Okay? You need to have a person and a product and sell stuff and need to have your sales push your operation just like the people who show up on Shark Tank. Okay? So let's look at it this way. One of the things that I do is venture capitalists call me and they have me consult, right? And they have me show up and we're in rooms for businesses to come in and they decide whether they want to invest in these businesses. Okay. And my role is to help assess these businesses, assess the profitability, assess the viability, and all that sort of stuff. Okay. And so one of the things we're looking at is, do they have existing sales? Do they have future sales? So if you show up with all these systems in place and you ain't got no sales, you think these people want to invest in you? No.
Well, now we're talking. Well, hold on.
You show up. Hang on. Listen to me. Because I know what I'm talking about, man. If you show up and you have a great product, but you don't have the systems in place, they can easily put the systems in place with money. They can easily put the systems in place with expertise because you have a product and you have demand. But if you spend all this time and money putting the systems in place without product and demand, what are you doing?
Okay, so I don't think you understand the question that I'm asking.
Okay.
The reason I say we disagree, you're saying, well, that person did it wrong. They started wrong. Okay, so they started wrong. How do you coach that person? They acknowledge that they started wrong. My question
I just told you.
My question was, what do you prioritize? And you said sales, and let sales drive your business. And I asked, do you include automations and some of the other kind of back end stuff? I didn't say spend a whole bunch of money on systems. I'm saying, do you include that in the sales conversation? Because you can bring in salespeople and just give them a phone. How many phone calls is it going to take? How much time do you have to spend on the phone? You're not going to be able to sell enough units to keep up with overhead, if there's any overhead at all, right? So I'm saying,
it depends on what you're selling. It depends on what you're selling.
Let's just say product.
More specific. It just depends on.
Let's go off what you said. You just need a person.
Are you selling a product online? Are you selling a product in person? Do you have
Well, that's my point. If you're selling the product online, that means you had to put money into those systems, right? So that's why I'm asking if you include the automations and that technology into the sales conversation when you say invest in sales first and let that drive your operations. Because you got to give them tools.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a basic way to sell whatever you're selling.
Okay, talk about that.
So you have to have a basic way to sell whatever you're selling.
Okay.
I guess my point is, I wouldn't. And look, let's give some more specific examples. That's why I need a specific example. Okay.
Let's take the candle. Let's take the candle guy. The candle people.
Okay. So but this specific person was selling the candles in person. Right. He was selling them out of his car. He was selling them at events. Right. So selling them at what do you call these events that people go to?
Trade shows.
Trade shows. Yeah. Trade shows. Those types of things. That's where they were selling these things at.
Okay.
Right. You wouldn't sell them online.
Right.
Now you could add that. You could say, hey, look, he had a website, but that's not where most sales were being generated. They were being generated at these shows and things like that.
Yeah, I got it.
So that's where most sales were coming from. So keep doing that. Right. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and I gave him this example. One of the things that we used to say is sell what you sell. Okay, sell what you sell. And what that means is a lot of times people try to, I don't want to say cute, but people try to think of all this other stuff to try to do something new. And the reality is look at what is working and just do more of that. Do more of that. If you're currently selling something and you're currently generating income doing something, before you try to do something new, do more of what's currently working and try to get exceptional and exceed as much as you possibly can at what's currently generating income. And then once you get to a point where you're like, I think I've exhausted the amount of success I can have at what's currently working. Now let's try to do something new. Okay. So the example you gave me, if that person is currently generating income doing something, my recommendation to them would be figure out how to just keep doing what you're currently doing, and step by step do that better.
Okay. Okay? All right. What's the next one? Let's go to the next one.
I need more specifics.
Well, that guy going to trade shows is going to go into bankruptcy because one, the cost to participate in the trade show, the number of candles you have to sell to make up for that, and then the value of time. So if I was coaching that guy, and keep in mind, we can't compare it to Lowe's, Home Depot, or some of these other Fortune 50 companies because they had capital raises and shareholders and all types of other things. They didn't
completely false. Let me tell you why. It's about the decision making. Otis, listen to what I'm saying. We're talking about how you make decisions. The same decision making that led us to call a temp agency and get somebody to make the candles in our garage can help us eventually get somebody to go to the trade shows for us. Right? It's the same thought process. We just got to find the bottlenecks and create a team. Right?
I think we're talking in two different directions. I think we're going in two different directions. I'm saying we can't compare it with the decision-making process because my decision-making process is going to be different if I start off with $5 million than if I start off with $5,000 because I have more options. So the decision, even with an identical decision-making process, whether you're Fortune 50 or whether you're somebody with $5,000 in the bank just getting started, it could be exactly the same, but you still have fewer options, which is why
the decisions you would make would be different because your options or your resources are different.
Exactly.
But the thought process is the same.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that.
Right. So the way you make decisions is the same. Okay.
Right.
So again, just think about that one little example. Right. That one little example that says, hey, why am I making these candles in the garage? The right decision is to do a data-based approach. Okay, because we want to make database decisions, and we can pay somebody. We can use $300 to produce $8,000 worth of product. Okay. And then with that $300, that frees up a certain amount of hours. See how I'm not even talking about people anymore. I'm just talking about data. With that $300, that produces $8,000. That $8,000 frees up 20 hours. That 20 hours can go produce $8,000 more in sales. That $8,000 more in sales can allow me to buy $300 more in hours, which can produce $8,000 more in product. So now I got $16,000 more in sales. Now my business is growing. What is math, man?
Yeah, no, I understand that. That was the point that you made that point already. I'm not disputing that.
But all I'm trying to get is there's a thought process.
Yeah, okay, all right. Let's start. Let's scratch all that. You got somebody that comes to you, say, "Hey, look, man, I got $5,000, and we'll call it service base, right?
Okay.
Look, I'm real popular. I got a big following online. I haven't even started marketing my stuff, but people like what I do. I got $5,000 in the bank. How do I deploy that capital?" And we can call it. We'll say that our price point per unit, service-based business price point per unit is going to be $500 a unit, a service, all right? So $5,000. How would you tell them to deploy that capital?
Are they currently generating sales?
No, they're just started. They're just started. They have no sales. They're just getting started. That's why they're coming to you, right? So they have.
That's just too vague of a question, man.
Okay,
it's too vague of a question. I would start with having a plan.
Okay, so
you have to put a plan together.
Okay, so what's your line? It's too vague of a question. What's your line of questioning? Because if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I got $5,000, what should I do with it?" I have a line of questioning that'll give me enough information to be able to tell them, okay, well, I would prioritize X, Y, and Z.
What's the service?
Let's say it is maybe it's coaching. Maybe they have a coaching program that teaches you, I don't know, basket weaving.
All right, so you got a coaching program. So I need to see what you're offering. So first thing is we need to have an offering.
That's what I said, $500 a unit.
All right. But what's the offering? Okay. I didn't ask price point.
Okay.
What's the offering? Okay. And so we need to know that like is there market for it? Okay. And then is your offering compelling? Okay. So we need to make sure you've got an offering. So that your offer is compelling. Okay. And then you said you had a following. Great. So you've got a following, and you have a compelling offer. Well, now we need some sort of a funnel, right? So that you bring your following through your funnel. And then once you've got your funnel,
sounds like systems, man. Sounds like systems. That was the point I was trying to make. You've got the following. You have no sales yet. You just said it. You need some sort of a funnel, and I just
need the basic way to sell stuff.
Okay, all right. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one because that was my point. I said, do you include the automations in these systems when you have the sales conversation? And later into the conversation,
but you gave me more specifics. I need more specifics.
All right, let's go to. All right, what you got next? What's number 2 reason businesses fail?
All right. So number two reasons people make bad decisions.
Okay.
Is data. Okay. We're not making database decisions.
All right.
All right. So let's use your this example that you use. Service-based business. Got a following. All right. So let's one of the things that I see is I talk about offer. Okay. Well, how do we know your offer is good? Right.
Okay.
Because your offer is really important. And just so people understand what an offer is, how would I say it? An offer is like it's like a package. It's like an offer is a way to tell people what you're selling. That's what an offer is. Right? When you look online, you see a price, and the price has a description. That's your offer. And what your offer comes with is something that we call, it's like a compelling reason, right? What's your compelling reason to buy? Here's another name for it, but I'm having a brain for it right now. But it basically means your compelling reason to buy. Okay. So when someone sees it, the value proposition. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Okay.
Right. So your offer comes with a value proposition. Okay. Your value proposition and your price point. Those two things basically make up your offer. Okay. And so basically the way that we use to kind of describe this is what it does, and has benefits. Okay. All right. So a lot of times when we create this, we don't really use any data to define it. Right? We just define it based on what we think, what it does, the sales service that we created. But what we want to do is we want to use some data. Okay, so we want to test it. We want to. So if we got a following. Maybe we create 2 or 3 different offerings, and we test them in different ways to figure out which offering works the best. But we want to make data-based decisions. We don't just want to throw something out there. Okay. The other thing is we want to look at industry standards. Like what does good look like? A lot of times people are doing things and they don't really know what good looks like. So we talked about a funnel. I kind of briefly got into what a funnel is. And what a funnel basically is you think about literally what a funnel is, like an oil funnel. Is hey, we start with our audience, and we want to kind of narrow them to our sales process, where they're getting to a point where they're either talking to somebody or if it's online, where they're getting to a basket where they're clicking and buying. Okay. So if we don't know what good looks like, and data will tell us that. So let's say my service-based business is a coaching business.
Okay.
And when I get on the phone and I want to convert somebody to buy my service-based business, the industry standard is to sell 25% of the people I talk to on the phone. And I'm only selling 15% of the people. But I don't know what good is or bad is because I haven't looked at any data. So I don't know that. So I just continue selling at 15%. But if I knew that the industry standard was 25%, then I know I need to change something about what I'm doing on the phone or some sort of process. So data. We have to use everything in our processes to collect data so that we can make good decisions. We want to change something that's not going well, or when we're creating something in the first place, we have to be using data to make these decisions. And one of the most common things that small business owners are doing is they're not using data. They're just doing what they think feels right. Now here's one of the biggest pitfalls that entrepreneurs have. If they do something that works, that's a pitfall. Well, let me tell you why. They feel like not data. Feel. They feel like, hey, I did this. It worked. I'm gonna repeat it. I made this decision in this way in the past, and I had success. I'm gonna keep making decisions that way. And you're gonna get lucky a couple times. And maybe you even have good instincts. But that's not going to make your business successful long run. What's going to happen is your business is going to have ups and downs, wild swings. But you're not going to have consistent success because you're not making database decisions. You're making emotional decisions.
Okay. So do you work with people that are just getting started in business, Or do you only work with people that already have a business and need to scale or improve?
Yeah, I work with both. But most of the people I work with have existing businesses. But I work with both.
Okay. All right. What's the next? What's the third? That was number
Do you
two.
have any questions about that part?
No. Go ahead.
All right. The next one is, so I talked about people. Did I talk about plan yet? So let's talk about plan.
Yeah.
So you should have a plan for everything. So I'm going to say this in two ways. Because most of the time, when people hear plan, they think of a business plan. And a business plan is a specific thing for a specific purpose. Typically, you're going to use a business plan to get funds. That's typically what you're going to use a business plan for. You can use it for other things. That's not all the time, but that's typically what you use it for. And that's not really what I mean when I say that you need a plan. Yes, you should have a business plan. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about you should have a plan for everything.
Okay.
If you're going to get up and so you got a team of four, and you're going to have a conversation with that team, you should have a plan for that. When you got up today to execute whatever you're going to execute in your plan today, or executing your day, you should have had a plan. You should have had a plan for today. For what you want to accomplish this month, you should have a plan. You should have a plan for this month. You should have a plan. You should have a plan. And you accomplish things successfully through planning. Right? When you open up your phone or your computer or whatever it is, you should have some sort of tool or device or organizing something that helps you plan. And everything you do should have intention in your business. Should have purpose. And there should be this is really important. Some intended result that you're trying to achieve. And that comes from your plan. And I think a lot of times what entrepreneurs are doing, they're just kind of shooting from the hip, and they're just kind of doing stuff. But there's no prediction that's happening, and that came from a plan. And so there's a certain way that I teach exactly how to plan. And this is extremely helpful just starting out. Right. Especially from a financial aspect. You'd be shocked at how much money you actually require when you sit down and plan your business. It's usually exponentially more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So planning is critical. So let's first talk about somebody just starting out.
Okay.
Some of the things that you want to plan through is you want to think through who are you selling to, and how big is that audience? Right. Because what you're planning for are sales. And so that's what you're studying. So like the book 7 Habits of Highly Successful People start with the end in mind. And so you plan backwards. The proper way to plan is to plan backwards, not frontwards. A lot of times plan forward. That's not the right way to plan. You plan backwards. You start with, hey, what are we trying to achieve? And you go backwards from there. So you say, hey, I think if all things go well, we can sell, let's say 100,000 units in 3 years. All right. So let's work backwards. All right. And you say, okay, look, in 12 months, I think it's possible to sell 10,000. Okay. Well, in order to achieve that, here's all the things that need to happen. Okay. And then you start working backwards from there. And then eventually you get to, okay, for me to do all that, in the next 30 days, here's all the stuff I got to get done. And then eventually you just end up with a list every day of stuff you got to do. And you just knock out that list every day. You just start knocking out that list. But you started with sales goals and sales projections, right? Of where you wanted to get through. Financial. You started with financial. You started with money. That's where you start. You start with data. Because money's a number. You have to look when you're planning in your business. Here's a really important point. You have to be able to turn everything into a number. Everything. If you can't turn something into a number, it makes it difficult to plan for.
Right.
Because you can't turn it into data. So remember the example I gave before about the candles. At the end of the day, I'm just turning it all into math. Right? Math is a language that gets you somewhere. It's a map. So when you're planning, you have to turn everything into a number. And that's what helps you accomplish. Right? Okay. I do this, right?
Okay.
So you start with where you want to get financially, turn that into a number, figure out all the stuff you got to do to accomplish that. And then you end up with just a list of tasks.
Okay. All right. And where do we go next? So that's where we on 3? Because I know we said an hour, but what's number 4 reasons businesses fail?
All right. So the next is accountability. So this is really easy. And I always do this after planning for a reason. So I define accountability as, did we do what we said we were going to do? If not, why not? And what are we going to do about it? Super simple. Now, where did we do, or where did we say what we're going to do in our plan? Right? And so the important thing to understand about accountability is, if you don't have a plan, how can we have accountability? Yeah. It's impossible, right? And the most common challenge I see with newer businesses and newer business owners is they want to have accountability, but they didn't have a plan. And here's what happens. They have a result they didn't like, and because they have a result they didn't like, well, now they want to have what they think is accountability, right? Which is really them just getting emotional about the fact that they have a result they didn't like, but they never really set an expectation based on a plan. So what we got to do first is say what we want to do, say what good looks like, and how we're going to get there. Okay. Now if that doesn't work out, now we have to do an assessment. Okay, why not? What didn't work? What happened? And then we have to do, okay, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to change? Okay, that's all accountability is. Super simple. And that's what helps us course correct. It's critical in decision making. That's what helps us course correct. If we don't do that, then we end up in the wrong track. Any questions about that?
No, that's good. That's good. Well, actually, elaborate on that just a little bit, because you said, how does somebody hold themselves accountable? Is it just a way of, are you referring to just a way of thinking, like accepting responsibility? Or
write it down.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Write it down. Okay. Yep. So your plan should be written down, right? Your plan's not in your head, right? So your plan should be written down, and there's something that I call check and adjust. So built into your plan is a period of check and adjust, where you say, okay, here's what I want to get done for the month, let's say. But I'm not going to wait till the end of the month to say, hey, did I accomplish my plan? I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to check in at the end of the week. And I'm going to say, hey, here's how we're going towards our plan for the month. How are we doing? Are we in the right track? Are we early? Is there something going on that we need to change? Do we need to check? We're checking, and do we need to adjust? So check and adjust. All right. And at that time, we're just asking the 3 accountability questions. We're asking, did we do what we said we were going to do? If not, why not? And what are we going to do about it? That's it.
All right. Let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, all right, we're going to wrap up with number 5, and then we'll do a quick recap, and then we'll go ahead and tap out. So first of all, how can people find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yep. All my stuff is Let James Help. So on Instagram at Let James Help. My website is letjameshelp.com. TikTok's good. TikTok is my name James P. Lewis, but
everything
else
you can change it. You can change it to let James help too. All right, number 5. What is it? What's the number 5 reason most businesses fail?
So this is more nuanced, and it's called alignment. Okay, and here's what I mean by alignment. So different things happen in our business that try to take us off our plan. Okay, things are coming at us, on a daily basis, sometimes on a minute basis. That stress us out. That rightfully so. A lot of times, crises come up. Maybe sales are going bad, and they want to take us off course. And so we gotta decide, like, hey, are we on the right course? Right? Especially when we do those check and adjust periods. And I try and encourage people, don't change your plan in the middle of it. You want to change it during your check and adjust periods, because what happens is when we're in our planning mind, that's our more thoughtful mind. And when we're in the course of doing business, we're kind of more emotional. And so we don't want to make those decisions in our emotional period, in our emotional state. All right. But that's what happens. Right. The other thing, part of alignment is, rule number one is start with values. And so did we build our business around a set of values, right? That are aligned with what we want to accomplish in our business. We have certain business goals, mission, and vision. Because if we don't have that as a guiding light, as a guiding principle, then these other forces can take us off our mark. And what that causes is it could make us less efficient in our business. It could cause us to lose money, and it really can stress us out and make us unhappy. Let me give a more specific example to make this more clear. I use this example with every single client. It's the first meeting I have with every single client. So Steve Jobs, all right. I can't remember what year it was, but he had retired, gone off into sunset, and Apple had started to fail. And Otis, you and I were right next door to Apple. Right? I think at the time I was going to school at Deanza, literally right across the street.
Yeah.
From Apple. But he came back because the company was failing. And he gave this speech in front of the entire company. And he said, look, we got to right this ship. We got to fix the company. And we're not going to do it with gigabytes and megabytes and RAM and all that sort of stuff. We're not going to do it by talking about all this stuff about the product. And we're going to do it by talking about who we are. Right? And they came up with their slogan, Think Different. We're going to do it with our values. And he completely changed the company and coalesce the company around their values. Now we have the benefit of hindsight. And Apple is the highest value company on the planet. But he did that by aligning the company around their values. Now, why is that important? Values attract people. And people are the most important thing that attract to your business. Okay? People are your clients, people are employees, people are your vendor partners. And we don't need all the people in the world. You just need the right people for your business. Okay? You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
All right. So you just need the right people. Okay? So let me take this small business on. If you have a service-based business, what happens when we feel like we need money, we start taking on clients. Right? We start taking clients maybe really don't want, but we don't want to turn that money down. Everybody has felt that. Okay. I know you felt that. We felt that. But I don't want to turn this $10,000 down. But what happens? We get bogged down with that client. They take us off in the wrong direction. And now we're not being as efficient with the clients that are our right clients. And in the long run, that's bad for our business.
They're saying that there's an echo on, I think, Facebook. They're saying that there's an echo. I don't hear any echo. You guys on Clubhouse? You guys hear an echo? Put a 1 in the chat if you hear an echo on Clubhouse. But I don't hear any. And Shiman, is that is that my cousin? Is that is that for me, or is that when James is talking? Go ahead, James. Continue.
Yeah, it might just be when I'm talking because.
Oh, she said when I talk.
Oh,
All right.
oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
So that's it. Lineman. Man. So you want to recap?
Yeah. So recap it real quick. All five.
All right. So look. There's common reasons and commonalities between why reasons fail, big or small. Right. One of the most important ones is not making good decisions. Okay. And we'll talk in other lives tomorrow included about the other reasons. But today we just talked about bad decisions. And there's some common reasons why businesses make bad decisions. All right. First is we got to have a good plan. So if we didn't have a plan, I think it's kind of easy to understand how we can make bad decisions. We didn't sit down and come up with a plan, right? Second is we don't have the right people. We don't have the right people doing the right things. And that doesn't necessarily mean we have to have or start out with a team of people. We don't have a team of people. We still need to seek out the right people to do stuff. Maybe that means we're using freelancers, or whatever it is. But we got to get the right people to do the right job.
Okay.
The next is database decisions. We don't want to make emotional-based decisions. All the decisions we make in our business got to come from data. The data will tell you what to do in your business.
Right.
Just follow the data. The next is accountability. Okay. We have to have a system of accountability. Right. We got to hold ourselves accountable. All right. Accountability is key. And the next is alignment. We got to be aligned with a set of values and a vision. We have to have we got to know where we want to go in our business, right? Got to put that in our plan, by the way. But we got to know where we want to go, know who we are, and stay consistent. We got to be aligned. That'll keep us making good choices.
That's what's up. Well, I appreciate you, brothers. We go shut it down. I know we went over like 15, 20 minutes. But we wanted to test this out today, and we were doing equipment tests, and we're going to try to figure out where these phantom echoes are coming from and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down now. I'll be back on tomorrow at 7 a.m. California time. We'll be talking about some real estate investing primarily. You guys have any questions, you know how to find me. If you guys want to get a hold of James, he gave you his information. But feel free, if you guys are on TikTok, text the word yes to that number above my head, and I will give you, I'll make sure you guys have the information to get a hold of him if you missed it. And you guys on Clubhouse, you can just tap James's picture and he will get you squared away. That being said, we are going to end, and I will see you all tomorrow.
What's up? Thanks, man.
All right, hold on 1 second, James. All right, let me go ahead and end the stream.